I never thought I'd be standing in my childhood home on Thanksgiving, being accused of stealing from my own mother. But there I was, surrounded by turkey and tension, watching my family unravel before my eyes. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and at 32, I built a good life for myself. After years of hard work, I'd become a forensic accountant at one of Boston's top firms. The irony of being accused of theft wasn't lost on me. I spent my days tracking down actual financial criminals. The day had started normally enough. I'd arrived early to help Mom with the turkey, just like every year. She'd been quieter than usual, but I'd attributed that to her recent health issues. At 65, she wasn't as energetic as she used to be, especially since Dad passed away 3 years ago. "The potatoes need more salt," Mom said, her first words since I'd arrived. Something was off in her tone, but I couldn't quite place it. My brother Mike arrived next with his wife, Andrea. Usually quick with a hug, today he barely looked at me. Behind them came my younger sister, Kate, clutching her phone like a lifeline. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a carving knife sitting unused on the counter. We managed to get through the appetizers in strained silence. It wasn't until Mom brought out the turkey that Mike finally exploded. "I can't do this anymore," he said, standing up so abruptly his chair scraped against the hardwood floor. "We need to talk about the money, Sarah." I set down my fork, confused. "What money?" "Don't play dumb," Kate chimed in, finally looking up from her phone. "We know what you did." $50,000, Mike said, his voice shaking with rage. "That's how much disappeared from Mom's account last month. The same month you helped her set up online banking." I felt the blood drain from my face. Last month, Mom had asked me to help her modernize her banking. She'd been nervous about online transactions, so I'd spent an entire Saturday walking her through the process. Now I understood why everyone had been acting so strange. "You think I stole from Mom?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "We don't think, we know," Mike said. "The money disappeared right after you got access to her accounts. Who else could it be?" Mom sat silently at the head of the table, tears rolling down her cheeks. The sight broke my heart. "Mom, you don't believe this, do you?" She wouldn't meet my eyes. "The money was for my surgery, Sarah." "How could you?" "The surgery. Mom needed a knee replacement, and her insurance wouldn't cover all of it. We'd all been worried about how to handle the medical bills, but stealing? The accusation made me sick. "I'm a forensic accountant," I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. "I track down financial fraud for a living. Why would I steal money in such an obvious way?" "Because you thought we wouldn't suspect you," Kate said. "The perfect daughter. The successful one. Who would question you?" The bitterness in her voice surprised me. Kate had always been the family rebel, changing majors 3 times before dropping out of college entirely. Now she worked at a local coffee shop and lived in Mom's basement. Had she always resented me this much? "Return the money," Mike demanded, "or you'll never see Mom again. We've already talked about getting a restraining order." That's when something clicked in my mind. Mike's new car, the one he'd bought last month, Kate's designer handbag, which I'd noticed earlier but hadn't thought much about. The pieces were starting to form a picture I didn't want to see. I reached for my phone, hands steady despite my racing heart. For weeks, I'd been investigating a series of suspicious transactions at work. Multiple accounts drained, always in the same pattern. I'd been building a case, gathering evidence, including security footage from various banks. "You want to know what happened to Mom's money?" I asked, opening a video file. "Watch this." I turned my phone around, displaying the crystal-clear security footage from First National Bank. The timestamp showed 2:15 p.m. on October 15th, exactly when the first withdrawal from Mom's account was made. The color drained from Mike's face as the video played. There he was, standing at the teller's window, wearing his favorite blue jacket. Next to him stood Kate, nervously checking her phone, just like she was doing now. "That's not. You doctored that footage," Kate stammered, but her voice had lost its certainty. "Bank security footage is watermarked and time-stamped," I said, my professional training taking over. "It can't be altered without leaving traces. Would you like to see the withdrawal slips too? They're signed with a pretty good forgery of Mom's signature. Not perfect, though. The forensics team at my office spotted the discrepancies right away." Mom's head snapped up. "Mike? Kate? What is she talking about?" I didn't want to do this, didn't want to shatter my mother's trust in her children. But they forced my hand. From my briefcase, I pulled out a folder, my personal copy of the investigation file. The money was withdrawn in 3 transactions, I explained, laying out the documents. First withdrawal, October 15th, $20,000. Second, October 18th, $15,000. Final, October 22nd, $15,000. Each time, the same 2 people appear on the security footage. Mom picked up the bank statements with trembling hands. But how did they get access to my account? Remember when you were in the hospital for your preliminary tests? I asked gently. Mike insisted on staying with you overnight. Your purse was in the hospital room the whole time. The pieces were falling into place now. Mike had gotten Mom's banking information during that hospital stay. He and Kate had waited until I helped Mom set up online banking, knowing I would be the obvious suspect when the money disappeared. But why? Mom whispered. Mike's face had turned an ugly shade of red. The dealership was going to repossess my car, he blurted out. I just needed enough to catch up on payments. Kate said we could borrow it and pay it back before anyone noticed. Borrow it? I repeated incredulously. You stole Mom's surgery money and tried to frame me for it. That's not borrowing. That's fraud. You always have to be perfect, don't you? Kate spat. The successful daughter, the one who made something of herself. Do you know what it's like living in your shadow? So you decided to steal from our mother and destroy my reputation. The hurt in my voice was palpable. Did you even think about what this would do to her? Andrea, Mike's wife, had been silent throughout this entire exchange. Now she stood up, gathering her coat. I can't be part of this, she said, her voice shaking. Mike, I thought we were just coming to confront Sarah about missing money. You never told me you were the one who took it. The room fell silent except for Mom's quiet sobs. This was worse than anything I could have imagined when I drove over this morning. My siblings had not only stolen from our mother, but had plotted to blame me for it. The level of calculation involved was staggering. The bank's fraud department has already been notified, I said quietly. They're just waiting for Mom to confirm she didn't authorize these withdrawals before pressing charges. Charges? Mike's face went from red to white. You can't be serious. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family, Mom said, her voice stronger now. And family certainly doesn't try to frame family for theft. I reached across the table and took her hand. I've already spoken to the hospital. They can reschedule your surgery for next month. I'll cover the costs. You don't have to do that, Mom protested, but I shook my head. Yes, I do, because that's what real family does. We help each other, not steal from each other. Mike and Kate sat in stunned silence as Mom picked up her phone. Her hands were shaking as she dialed the fraud department number I had given her weeks ago, when I first discovered the suspicious transactions. As she reported the fraud, I looked at my siblings, really looked at them. When had they changed so much? When had their jealousy and resentment grown so deep that they would do something like this? And how had I missed the signs? The turkey sat forgotten on the table, growing cold as our family imploded. This would be a Thanksgiving none of us would ever forget, but not for the reasons any of us had expected. And it wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. The next few days after Thanksgiving were a blur of police statements, bank meetings, and painful revelations. I took time off work to help Mom navigate the chaos my siblings had created. Each new discovery felt like another knife in my heart. Mom and I sat in her kitchen the morning after Thanksgiving, drinking coffee and trying to make sense of everything. The house felt eerily quiet without the usual holiday bustle. I found these in Kate's room, Mom said, sliding a stack of credit card statements across the table. Her hands trembled slightly. She's been opening cards in my name. I examined the statements, my professional training kicking in automatically. 6 different credit cards, all maxed out. Designer clothes, expensive restaurants, hotel stays. Kate had been living far beyond her barista salary. Identity theft, I said quietly. Mom, this is serious. Combined with the bank fraud. They could go to jail, couldn't they? Mom's voice cracked. My own children. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Andrea, Mike's wife. Can we meet? There's more you need to know. An hour later, I sat across from Andrea at a small cafe downtown. She looked like she hadn't slept, dark circles under her eyes. Mike's gambling again, she said without preamble. That's why we needed the money. The car repossession story was just a cover. The revelation hit me hard. Mike had struggled with gambling addiction in his early 20s, but we thought he'd beaten it. Dad had helped him through rehab before he passed away. How bad is it? Andrea's laugh was hollow. Bad enough that he convinced our teenage son to lie to the police. Tommy told them he saw you leaving the bank on the days of the withdrawals. He did what? My coffee cup clattered against its saucer. He'd involved his own son in this. Tommy confessed to me last night. He's terrified, Sarah. Mike told him it was just a family prank, that no one would get hurt. Andrea wiped away tears. I'm leaving him. I can't let Tommy grow up thinking this is what family means. Back at Mom's house, I found her sitting in Dad's old study, looking at family photos. She held one from my college graduation. All of us smiling, Dad's arm around my shoulders, Mike and Kate flanking us. Were there signs? She asked, not looking up. Did I miss something? We all missed it, Mom. I sat beside her, studying the photo. We looked so happy, some Mama. They hid it well. Your father would be heartbroken. She set the photo down carefully. He always said money shows people's true colors. I never thought he meant our own children. The doorbell rang, interrupting our conversation. Through the front window, I saw Kate standing on the porch, shifting nervously from foot to foot. Don't open it, I advised, but Mom was already moving toward the door. Kate burst in the moment the door opened. Mom, please, you have to drop the charges. They're saying it's felony fraud. I could lose everything. You should have thought of that before stealing from me, Mom replied, her voice firmer than I'd ever heard it. I was desperate. Kate's mascara was smeared, her eyes red. Do you know what it's like watching Sarah succeed at everything while I'm stuck making lats? I just wanted a chance to get ahead. By committing fraud? I interjected. How exactly was that going to help you get ahead? Kate whirled on me. Oh, shut up, Miss Perfect. You have no idea what it's like being the failure of the family. Mom and Dad spent everything on your college education. There was nothing left for me. That's not true, Mom cut in sharply. We offered to help with your education multiple times. You chose to drop out 3 times. Because I couldn't compete with Sarah's perfect grades and perfect career and perfect life. Kate was shouting now. Do you know she got promoted last month? Another big success for precious Sarah, while I can barely make rent. I stared at my sister, truly seeing her for the first time. The designer clothes she wore, probably bought with stolen credit cards. The expensive highlights in her hair. The new iPhone in her manicured hands, all funded by fraud and theft. You're not a failure because of me, Kate, I said quietly. You're in this situation because of your own choices, and now you have to face the consequences. The police called this morning, Mom added. They want us to come in tomorrow to discuss pressing charges against both you and Mike. Kate's face crumpled. You really send your own children to jail? You really tried to frame your own sister for theft? Mom countered. The sound of tires on gravel interrupted us. Through the window, I saw Mike's car pull up. He got out, looking disheveled. Nothing like the polished financial advisor he pretended to be. Family meeting, he announced, striding in without knocking. I have a proposal. You're not supposed to be here, I reminded him. The police were clear about that. He waved his hand dismissively. This is more important. Look, I have a plan to fix everything. Sarah, you make good money. If you just loan us enough to replace what we took, Mom can tell the bank it was all a misunderstanding. The audacity left me speechless. Mom, however, found her voice. Are you suggesting that Sarah should give you money to cover up your crime? It's not just about the money anymore, I added, finding my voice. You tried to frame me. You got Tommy to lie to the police. This isn't something you can just fix with a loan. Mike's confident facade cracked slightly. You don't understand. If this gets out, I'll lose my license. No one will trust me with their investments. My career will be over. Your career managing other people's money? I asked incredulously. Maybe it should be over, Mike. You stole from our mother. You're gambling again. You involve your son in a criminal conspiracy. Andrea told you. His face darkened. She had no right. She had every right. I shot back. She's protecting her son, something you should have been doing. Kate, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, spoke up. Maybe Mike's right. If Sarah helps us pay it back. No, Mom cut her off. No more enabling. No more cover-ups. You both need to face what you've done. Mike's expression turned ugly. If you do this, if you press charges, we're done. You'll never see your grandchildren again." The threat hung in the air like poison. Mom's face went pale, but her voice remained steady. "If that's your choice, Michael, but I won't let you blackmail me, not with this. Not anymore." I watched my brother and sister standing there, these strangers wearing familiar faces, and felt a profound sense of loss. The family in that graduation photo was gone, shattered by greed, resentment, and lies. "You should both leave," I said quietly. "The police have your statements. They'll be in touch about next steps." "You're really going to let them do this to us?" Kate asked, her voice small. "Your own family? You stopped being family the moment you decided to steal from Mom and frame me for it," I replied. "Everything since then has just confirmed that decision." As they left, Mom sank into her chair, looking older than I'd ever seen her. "I keep thinking this is a nightmare I'll wake up from." I took her hand, feeling the slight tremor in her fingers. "We'll get through this, Mom, I promise." But as I heard Mike and Kate's cars start up and drive away, I wondered how anyone could ever put our family back together again. Some broken things can't be fixed, and maybe they shouldn't be. A month after Thanksgiving, I sat in a district courthouse, watching my siblings enter their pleas. The formal charges were extensive: bank fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, and filing false police reports. It felt surreal hearing these crimes attached to people I'd grown up with. Mom sat beside me, her back straight, her face composed. She'd aged years in the past month, but there was a new strength in her, too. She'd refused all contact with Mike and Kate after their attempted blackmail, channeling her grief into action instead. She'd worked with a bank to secure her accounts, changed all her passwords, and even started volunteering at a financial literacy program for seniors, turning her pain into purpose. Mike stood first, wearing a suit that suddenly seemed too big for him. Andrea sat in the back of the courtroom with Tommy, who couldn't meet anyone's eyes. The gambling had been worse than anyone imagined. Mike had lost his job when his firm discovered he'd been borrowing from client accounts too. "How do you plead?" the judge asked. Mike's voice cracked. "Guilty, Your Honor." Kate went next, her designer clothes replaced by a modest black dress. She'd been fired from the coffee shop when the charges became public. The credit card companies were still tallying the full extent of her fraud. "Guilty," she whispered, mascara running despite her attempts to maintain composure. I felt Mom's hand grip mine as the judge set the sentencing date for next month. The prosecutor had already outlined the plea deals. Mike would serve 18 months, Kate 12. Both would have to pay restitution. Outside the courthouse, Andrea approached us. Tommy hung back, looking lost in his father's too large jacket. "Sarah," Andrea said softly, "Tommy has something he needs to say." My 16-year-old nephew stepped forward, his face a mixture of shame and fear. "I'm sorry, Aunt Sarah. Dad said it was just a joke, that no one would believe my statement anyway. I didn't know." I cut him off with a hug. He stiffened for a moment, then collapsed against me sobbing. "I don't want him to go to jail," he choked out. "I know, buddy. What else could I say? How do you explain to a teenager why his father deserves prison?" Mom touched Tommy's shoulder gently. "You'll always have a place with us, Tommy, no matter what." Andrea wiped her eyes. "We're moving in with my sister next week. I filed for divorce yesterday. Another casualty of my siblings' choices. Another fracture in our once close family." That evening, I went through old family videos at Mom's house, seeking answers in frozen moments from the past. There was Kate's high school graduation before the first college attempt. Mike's wedding to Andrea before the gambling took hold. Christmas mornings, family vacations, birthday parties, all these moments when we were still whole. Mom found me surrounded by photo albums and DVD cases, looking for clues. She asked, settling beside me, trying to understand when it all went wrong. When did they start seeing me as the enemy instead of their sister? I've been asking myself the same thing. Mom picked up a photo of Kate's first ballet recital. "Your father and I, did we cause this somehow? By praising your achievements? By helping you with college?" "Mom, no. They made their choices. Adult choices with adult consequences." She nodded slowly. "I know, but a mother can't help wondering." She paused, collecting her thoughts. "The sentencing is next month. They want to meet with us before then." I stiffened. "Why?" "To apologize, they say. Their lawyers think showing remorse might help reduce their sentences." She squeezed my hand. We don't have to go. But we did go, 1 week later, to a small conference room in their lawyer's office. Mike and Kate sat across from us, both looking diminished somehow. The swagger was gone from Mike's posture, the defiance from Kate's eyes. "I've been going to Gamblers Anonymous," Mike started. "Twice a week. I should have gone back years ago after Dad," he trailed off. "I'm seeing a therapist," Kate added, "working through my issues with competition and self-worth." They took turns apologizing, their words carefully rehearsed. I listened, trying to find genuine remorse beneath the legal coaching. Mom listened too, her expression giving nothing away. When they finished, Mom spoke. "I believe you're sorry. Sorry you got caught. Sorry you're facing consequences. But are you sorry for what you actually did? For betraying your family? For trying to destroy your sister?" Neither could meet her eyes. "That's what I thought." Mom stood, smoothing her skirt. "I hope you both find help in prison. I hope you learn from this. But I don't trust you anymore, and I'm not sure I ever will again." As we left, Kate called out, "Sarah, don't you have anything to say?" I turned back. "Just this. I would have helped you, both of you, if you'd asked. That's what hurts the most. You chose betrayal when you could have chosen trust." Walking out of that office, I felt something shift inside me. The anger was still there, the hurt too, but something else had changed. I was no longer searching for the siblings I'd grown up with. Those people were gone, if they'd ever really existed at all. "You did the right thing," Mom said as we drove home. "Being honest about your feelings." Did I? Sometimes I think if I paid more attention, been around more. "Stop," Mom's voice was firm. "You're not responsible for their choices. You're only responsible for how you handle the aftermath." The aftermath. Such a simple word for such a complicated reality. In 1 month, my siblings would begin their prison sentences. Mom would have her knee surgery, paid for properly this time. Tommy would start a new school in a new city. And me? I was learning that sometimes the deepest wounds come from the people closest to you. But healing starts with accepting that you can't fix everyone's broken pieces. Sometimes all you can do is protect your own heart and help pick up the pieces that can be salvaged. 6 months after the sentencing, life had found a new rhythm. Mom's knee surgery was successful, and she'd thrown herself into physical therapy with determination. I'd been promoted to senior manager at my firm, partly due to how I'd handled discovering the fraud. Sometimes the worst moments in life lead to unexpected growth. I visited Mom every Sunday, and this particular evening we sat on her porch watching the sunset. 2 letters lay unopened on the table between us, one from Mike, one from Kate. "They've been writing every week," Mom said, touching the envelopes. "Andrea says Mike is leading a Gamblers Anonymous group in prison. Kate's teaching other inmates basic accounting." Trying to make the best of it, I observed, keeping my voice neutral. The letters sent to my apartment remained unopened in a drawer. "Tommy's grades are improving," Mom continued. "Andrea says he's talking about studying law now, wants to help people who've been victims of fraud." I smiled, thinking of my nephew's transformation. We had dinner with him and Andrea twice a month now, building new family bonds from the ashes of the old. "Sarah," Mom said carefully, "I've been thinking about forgiveness." I tensed. "Mom?" "Not forgetting," she clarified. "Never that. But carrying all this anger, it's heavy." She was right. The anger had become a constant companion, coloring everything. Work, relationships, even casual interactions. Just last week, I'd ended a promising date early because he'd mentioned having siblings. The wall I'd built was protecting me, but it was also isolating me. I got a call from the victim restitution program. I said, "Mike and Kate have both started making payments. Small amounts, but consistent." Mom nodded. "Baby steps." "Do you ever wonder if we did the right thing, pressing charges?" "Every day," Mom admitted. But then I remember what their actions say about who they'd become. They needed this wake-up call, even if it hurt us all. I picked up Kate's letter, feeling its weight. "I'm not ready to read these yet." "That's okay. Healing has its own timeline." We sat in comfortable silence as the sky turned purple and gold. Mom had started dating recently. Nothing serious, just coffee with a gentleman from her physical therapy group. Life was moving forward. "I have something to tell you," I said. "I've been offered a position heading up a new fraud prevention program, teaching people how to protect themselves, their parents, their businesses." Mom's eyes lit up. You're going to help stop other families from going through what we did. That's the plan. Turn all this into something meaningful. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Your father would be so proud of how you handled everything. He'd be proud of you too, Mom. You didn't let them manipulate you. You stood strong. Later that night, back in my apartment, I finally opened my desk drawer and took out the stack of letters from my siblings. I didn't read them, but I moved them from the drawer to a box labeled Family History. Not forgotten, but not controlling my present either. My phone buzzed with a text from Andrea. Tommy got an A on his law ethics paper. Says his aunt inspired him. I smiled, typing back, "Tell him I'm proud of him." That's the thing about family. Sometimes it breaks apart, but new connections can form from the pieces. Tommy and Andrea were family now, chosen family, bound by truth rather than obligation. The last light of day faded outside my window as I sat down to work on my first fraud prevention presentation. The title slide read, "Protecting Your Family's Financial Future." Below it, I added a subtitle, "Because Love Shouldn't Cost You Everything." Mom was right about forgiveness. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. For now, I was focused on building something positive from our family's tragedy. After all, that's what survivors do. We take our darkest moments and turn them into light for others. Mike and Kate would be released eventually. They tried to reconnect, to rebuild. When that day came, I would be stronger, wiser, and absolutely clear about my boundaries. Because I'd learned the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes loving your family means loving them from a safe distance. But that was a challenge for another day. Tonight, I had a presentation to finish, dinner plans with Tommy and Andrea to arrange, and a life to live. One that was different from what I'd imagined, but perhaps exactly what I needed all along. After all, the best revenge isn't punishment or anger. It's living well and helping others do the same. And that's exactly what I intended to do.